Hey there, welcome to Pulled Into Letting Go. I'm Mandy Torado. I haven't done this in a while, but here's the candle I'm burning today. Evergreen spruce, and it smells really nice. Smells like Christmas, like the woods. So today I want to talk a little bit about grief and how it never dies, it just changes. And whenever I think about grief, my mind instantly goes to the place that I have been for the last 21 years. And this is pretty exposing for me to talk about this because it's only very recently that I realized I've never allowed myself to go through the full grieving process for the death of my sister. And I've been stuck in this grief since February 7th, 2003. I haven't allowed myself to move past it because I felt somehow like because I'm the one who survived, I'm supposed to live for her or instead of her, in her place, and only do things that would honor her or her memory. Um, and so grief became so much more than an emotion or a feeling or a process. It somehow became my entire identity without me even noticing that. That's one of the dangers of listening to our heart rather than leading our hearts. The heart can be so deceitful, who even knows, right? And we can say, well, God knows my heart. Well, yeah, sure, He does. He's the one who told us how deeply deceitful it can be. And He's the one who reminds us to lead our hearts and to listen to Him and not let our emotions or our feelings rule us. But yet, for 21 years, that's what I've been doing. Grief, it doesn't die, it changes us. It can change us for the better, or we can just be stuck in it. And it can change us in a negative way. It really has sucked the life right out of me. And it promised me something elusive, something I don't even quite understand. But it did answer the question for me. What's next after loss? Grief. There's five main stages of grief, and we can argue if there's five or six or seven, but let's just say, for the sake of making this a little shorter and easier today, that there's five. They're denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Of course, it's possible to skip around in there, to experience some for longer periods of time than others, to sort of bounce around, or to skip one entirely. Sometimes you can circle back multiple times to the same one. But for me, I've never really gotten to the acceptance stage. I've always bounced around with the others, and the depression stage has really stuck. That's been the most prominent one. Did you knock over your food bowl? It's interesting to have to face that. It's interesting to have to think about how I haven't allowed myself to accept the healing that God has offered. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 reminds us that for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. If we're not careful, we can only read half of that and only focus on half of that. And we can reject the things that seem ugly or unnatural or uncomfortable. But discomfort is where we grow. If we never planted a seed in the ground, it wouldn't grow. It has to struggle through reaching up through the dirt, through the fertilizer. And it has to withstand all the seasons in order to continue growing and become stronger. Just like we have to. We have to let go of what we thought was supposed to be and accept what actually is. Grief happens when our picture of the future changes without our approval. If we're really stuck on ourselves and really stuck on our own plan and totally closed off to what God can do or might do, then yeah, we're going to feel a whole lot of grief. We're going to try to control things and we're going to try to hold on too tightly to the past. But I'm here to ask you and myself, let go. Won't you just let go and give it to God and see what He will do with it? And maybe we can all move forward into something better than what we lost. Not that it will ever replace a person or a job or a body part or a child or a dream. But maybe it can be something different and still good. That's all I have for you today. Just a broken person who needs Jesus on my journey to loving Him and serving Him better than the day that I did before. As always, I love you, but more importantly, God loves you.